Alright guys, so the season is over. Luka Doncic of course goes off. Our rookie of the year is Carlos Aguilar. RJ Barrett comes home with the 6th man. Jonathan Isaac is the defensive player of the year, and Killian Hayes is our rookie of the year. We somehow only get one player onto the All-NBA team, which is Ben Simmons. Of course Simmons had a good year, but I still don't even think he was the best player on our team. The fact that Steph Curry didn't make any of the 3 teams is pretty ridiculous. Steph Curry had 29 points, almost 10 assists on a 50-40-90 season. Paul George is surprisingly our next player, averaging 22 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. Ben Simmons, our one All-NBA guy, had 22 points, 11 rebounds, 9 assists. James Wiseman had 13 with 2 assists and 2 blocks per game. Then Klay Thompson, coming off the bench, still had 15 points, which is pretty surprising for a 6th man on a team with this much star power. Our starting lineup plus Klay Thompson scored almost 105 points per game, which is just absolutely insane. And then no one else on the bench really scored much of anything. So we are going up against the Memphis Grizzlies. There really isn't too much talk to see about it. I really only see 2 players who I think that we're going to need to watch out for, that being Jaren Jackson Jr. and Ja Morant. Because we have such a tall starting lineup, we can actually hide Steph Curry on their 2 guard, meaning that I'm going to choose to have Paul George go up against Ja. George is our best perimeter defender and does have a good size on Morant. Morant is a bit quicker and I think he can get around George somewhat easily, but Ja is also not the best shooter in the league, so I'm going to be able to sag off of him a little bit. And for the second half of this duo, Jaren Jackson Jr., I'm actually going to put Ben Simmons on him. Jackson is a big forward who can score from basically all levels of the floor, so I do think Simmons is going to be able to counter him. Simmons is also going to be a lot faster than him, which I think is going to help out too. And because of this, our 4, Jay Crowder, is also going to be guarding the small forward position. While Jay Crowder is definitely a capable defender to go up against Jackson, we have Ben Simmons, so I might as well use him. And Simmons is also a little bit better in the paint. Our rotation hasn't changed too much. We are still going to be making sure that Curry and Simmons are playing at all times. I'm also going to try not to play anyone much more than 35 minutes per game. I'm trying to conserve some stamina for the later rounds. We still do have the same death lineup for the 4th quarter with Curry, Simmons, Klay, Paul George, and James Wiseman. I'm actually giving Crowder a few more minutes per game, but I'm putting most of them in the front. Because Simmons is guarding the 4, he's going to be guarding the 3 more often. As for our playmakers, I think Ben Simmons and Paul George may be the 2 biggest X factors in this series. While Wiseman and Curry are obviously great, they are going up against 2 good defenders in Jonas Valanciunas and Ja Morant. I don't think the Grizzlies are going to have too much of an answer for Simmons or Paul George, assuming that we don't get playoff P, of course. Curry I'm going to continue to use off-ball, and I'm deciding to actually give Paul George more pick and roll and more play initiator opportunities. I also want to try running an action of Paul George and Ben Simmons on a pick and roll. If you combine those 2 running a pick and roll with Curry running around a screen on the opposite side, I think we have the basis for a strong playoff offense. Starting off the game, we're going to see a lot of action with Memphis' 2 stars. Both Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson are able to get it going off of the pick and roll right there, and then Ja Morant is able to find one of his guys running around the screen, and Memphis actually started it off with a 6-0 lead. But that didn't last for long as Paul George was able to isolate his man, and he decides to pull up the 3 in his face, and that's a good start knowing Paul George is hitting contested shots. It also doesn't take too long for Steph Curry to get off to a hot start. Right here we're getting that perfect play of getting him running around a double screen while Ben Simmons is driving the ball down low. And then one underrated aspect I didn't really talk about a lot is by Ben Simmons handling the ball, that is going to allow Curry to do a lot more on the fast break. And opportunities like that 3 that we saw there are going to open up a lot more. But then of course I feel like Memphis just comes back with something stupid as Ja Morant does this layup. I don't think I've ever seen that animation before. But anyways, we try and ignore it. And we're back here running the fast break. This time Paul George is going to take it. Ben Simmons cuts to the side. And Simmons shows off a strong finish against the smaller defender there. Again, we're going to see the Paul George-Ben Simmons action going. This time, Paul George decides to take it. And now we're going to come back on offense. George gets the dunk right there when he decides not to pass it. And then Ben Simmons assists Paul George for the 3. So those guys together have scored like 8 straight points. Then to end off the quarter, we do the shot clock cheese where Ben Simmons puts Ja Morant on a poster. Starting up the 2nd quarter, we have Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. They're getting a pick and roll going. It was interesting for this series. I felt like Ben Simmons and Paul George were doing a lot more scoring on the primary lineup. Well, it seems like James Wiseman, Steph Curry, and Klay Thompson, once we got kind of the bench unit out there, those guys were starting to take over, kind of as we're seeing on these last few plays. Now coming back on offense, so Ja Morant, he's going to continue fighting. Despite us having a 14-point lead, the Memphis Grizzlies kind of just kept being able to shorten that up every single time. But here Paul George is also able to retaliate with the tough and one finish there. And then he's going to come back. This time he finds Wiseman, and Wiseman gets the crafty finish on Valanciunas. Then we're going to go back to Wiseman again. We're going to keep feeding the big man, and he doesn't have too much of a problem scoring against their unit. Then Curry's going to end out the half with that 3. And then Memphis is going to come back with another shot clock G shot, this time with only 0.9 seconds remaining. The second half is going to start off with Curry hitting 2 layups right in the face of Ja Morant, and then he's going to come back and do the reverse. Then on offense, I try not to do this too often just because it's so glitchy, but every once in a while I try and just get Ben Simmons a little post action just because the CPU does such a terrible job in matching up someone who's actually supposed to go up against him. Right here we're going to see a similar play where Curry runs around the screen, and of course Ben Simmons, he's able to find him. Curry greens the 3, and that keeps our lead going a little longer. But like I said, they just continue to fight back as Memphis is making this only a 4 to 2 point game with the last few minutes in the third. And Ben Simmons has just been controlling this game. As you can see, most of the highlights are coming from him. It really isn't feeling like Steph Curry's team as much. And the same thing here, we're just going to do a little post up with Ben Simmons, and then he airballs the layup. This is supposed to be our all-NBA guy. This is supposed to be our new #1 guy, and he airballs the wide open layup. I think he felt bad though, and he blocked Ja Morant and then decided to take it coast to coast. And he does that on back-to-back plays. And then continuing to take over this quarter, he's going to assist Steph Curry on this buzzer beater. It took the referees a second to decide if they want to do it, but eventually we count it and going into the fourth with a 6-point lead. Right here, we're going to get some good ball movement going, and I swear this has been happening every single game, but right here, we're just going to get the base layup package as Klay Thompson is able to finish here. He really didn't end up doing too much this game. He only hit, I think, 1 or 2 3-pointers and then a single layup there. Paul George actually disappeared for most of the second and third quarter. And Memphis, as you can see, has made only a 3-point game. And right here, they're actually, Dylan Brooks is able to hit this big shot in the face of Jay Crowder. That ties it at 73. And once I saw it was 73-73 with 2 minutes left, that's when I knew I had to get the ball to Simmons. So we get him in the high post there. Here, Simmons is going to get the catch. The shot clock's winding down. He's going to fake the jab set, go behind his back, and he gets the finish right over Jonas Valanciunas. Then once again, we're going to go find Ben Simmons. This time Curry is running with the ball. He finds Simmons. Simmons gets the catch, gets the drive. That gives us the lead. Simmons now throws it up to Paul George, and I think we're actually going to be able to escape this one. Paul George is able to find Curry just to rub it in a little bit. Curry's able to hit the long floater, and that is it for game 1. We are able to beat the Grizzlies 83-74. But I would definitely say this one was a little too close for comfort. They went on a huge run in the third and fourth quarter, which really just made a lead not feel that big. But anyway, Steph Curry ended up being our leader with 24, 4, and 5. Simmons had 22, 8, and 7, going 10 of 12 from the field. Paul George had 16 points, going 6 of 13, and Wiseman was able to help out a good amount, going 14 of 7. Alright, going into Sim Game 2, the Grizzlies actually dominated us for most of this game, but were able to go on a late run with a 47-point fourth quarter to take it. And then actually in Games 3 and 4, the Grizzlies are able to escape it with a 120-109 win there. And then they come back and defeat us again, tying this series up at 2-2. Honestly, that is closer than what I ever thought that we would be with the Grizzlies. Going back into our home floor on Game 5, it's another close one, but this time we're actually going to be able to pull it out just in the last few seconds behind a 24, 14, and 14 effort by Ben Simmons. Now going back to Memphis in Game 6, once again they're winning most of the game, but once again showing off how strong of a second half team we are, and in the fourth quarter we are just barely able to beat them. That escapes us out of the first round. This is a look at what our stats look like, and they are a bit surprising. Paul George with our leader with 23, 5, and 5. Curry was down to 21, 3, and 9. Simmons was down to 19, 9, and 9. This was just not an overall very strong series for us, as I really did not expect it to be this close to Memphis. I thought we were going to sweep them, but yeah, this was a bit disappointing. Hopefully in our next round matchup going up against the Phoenix Suns, we can expect a bit stronger of a performance. Led by Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton. Booker, who was averaging 36 points in the first round against the playoffs. If the Grizzlies gave us this much of a struggle, I know Phoenix is going to give us just a tough battle as well. So that is it for this one. I will catch you guys all later. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, stay up to future videos, and I'll catch you guys later.